Good evening, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. I see so many of the regulars in the chat. Callahan, James, Kimberly, JJ, and Lulu, Carol, CP, Lee Walters, Andrew Allen, Kimberly Elliott, James Handyman, Lee Walters, Carol, Regina Briggs, Watery Waves. Dale Hodges. Bev, I see you in the Rumble chat, and I will pay closer attention to the Rumble chat today. We had, from what I understand, someone that really went sideways in the chat there, attacking everybody. And I've dropped the ball a few times not having that chat window open. So I apologize, but I need to probably assign a few moderators over to the Rumble chat. Okay, well, I'm going to skip right to it. What did I tell you guys would be the telltale sign of the Ring of Fire before we get to critical mass? I'm going to show you this is Kamchatka, Russia, at the top of the zipper. And this is where two major fault subduction zones connect. And it will be here, my belief, that when this finally goes, the whole Pacific Ring will go. Today was extremely unusual. Well, not extremely, but definitely higher up on the uptick. This is just in the last 24 hours. Pay very close attention. Look at the times as well. What we're looking at the top is in the last 20-30 minutes, give or take. 5.0, 5.0, 5.0, 4.9, 5.2, 4.8, 5.2, 5.4. This is all Russia, guys, on this list. Every one of these is a different area of Kamchatka, Russia. Look at this. This is all aftershocks. Look at this. 4.5, 4.9, 4.9, 4.0, 5.4, 5.0. And around 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon, guys, I've never seen it look like this in Russia. We had a 7.8 right about the time I was picking up Ivy. Folks, this is nuts. I'm going to be straight and tell you right now. I've never seen this move to this effect. In about 30 minutes before the nearly 8.0 in Kamchatka, we had Indonesia with a 6.5 and a 6.1. But guys, I've lost track of how many in that island of Kamchatka. Let's see here. Wow. 27 4.0 earthquakes and higher on the peninsula in Kamchatka, Russia. And these are all still just tremors leading up to what is coming. These are all still tremors leading up to what is coming. Just wow. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say, except, folks, please make sure you have an intimate relationship on lockdown with the Lord. Really, guys, it's... I'm literally at a loss. A small ribeye in Canada cost you around $30. Yeah, I like red meat. I like a really good steak, medium rare, little, really red, but not runny. I don't like it mooed, but close to mooed, and seared on the top and bottom. Steak is one of the few things I actually cook well, because I'm not a cooker, whatever you want to call it. That is not my trade craft. But I have found that using my grill and running the grill at a really low temperature and putting the steak on the top rack and letting it just cook there for about an hour to a little over medium rare, and then sear it on both sides when you're ready. Or I think I sear it first. Nevertheless, you can literally cut it without using a knife, just a fork. I am not a mushroom guy. Whenever I see mushrooms, I'm like, eh. Sorry, this is from my own personal experiences of trauma of mushrooms that did not sit well with my personality over periods of time. But guys, for some reason, I'm really tired today. Is anyone else feeling like they are just completely zapped? I did notice that we had a lot of solar activity, but I could keep napping today. And it really, I think I only noticed this when the solar activity is at a really high level with the KP indexed high. So you sear first. Okay, got it. That's what I thought. Well, normally I'm trucking right along, but I did notice the KP index and solar notifications on my phone, and so I'm not sure how long I'm going to do this tonight, because I'm just... my mind is, it's a little slow tonight. Normally I can truck right along, but I'm on the struggle bus tonight, guys. I'm going to be straight up. Brian says, yep, I can barely walk to my car. Good grief. Yeah. It has been one of those days. I was out on a call earlier today. I have noticed a big time uptick in domestic violence calls. speaking of which, we had another ambush on law enforcement. Did you guys see that? Another ambush on law enforcement. There was 5 police officers in Pennsylvania serving a warrant and answering a domestic disturbance call. And the shooter camouflaged himself in the cornfields, ambushed the 5 officers, killed 3 of them. He was not playing nice. Well, are they really ever? But he ambushed with a full tactical setup, using a carbine, armor piercing, sliced right through their armor. Because most police officers are not going to carry their plates in their vests. Because the likelihood most of the time is that they're not going to square off with a high-powered carbine. Sadly, today it cost, well, it was actually yesterday, but it cost them 3 of their lives. But this is a reoccurring theme. Do you guys remember about a month or 2 prior, there was a fire set, I believe it was Idaho or Ohio, a fire set to lure in law enforcement, and then a gentleman was in the tree line and ambushed them. Very interesting times we're living in, folks. The love of many is growing cold. Here in our little area of Cobb County, Kennesaw, it is not normal to receive a lot of domestic violent calls where local police or a local deputy has to check in. There's been a big uptick on this. Big uptick. We are just in that time period, guys. Like, and I say this without sarcasm, in this little town, for this town to be getting these, a daily occurrence, it's not normal. Usually these calls are about once a month. Over the last 2 weeks, they've been daily. Sometimes twice a day. I mean, this is just a pretty docile town where everybody knows everybody. Most everyone here has lived here for a long time. It's interesting to see things dialing up. Christopher, do what you need to do for yourself. Well, I'm doing what I need to do for myself. This is really my calling to do this pretty much all the time, but I'm struggling with keeping my head straight tonight, so I may just call it a wraps and hit the pillow. I have a really good teaching that I've been working on that I really wanted to get into, but I think I'm just going to rename this show tonight like a news briefing and redo this one tomorrow, because this one is really good. Has anyone studied the fall and the rise and fall of Babylon? You know how history repeats itself. The Bible gives us the playbook on what's going to happen with America. You guys realize that? This is one I've been working on for quite some time. Well, if you really, in retrospect, look at it, we're in the third Babylon. If you want to be technical, I believe that the United States is the current Babylon. But you had Nimrod's kingdom, which was the first Babylon, and then Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom, which was, each one rose up in a more glorious, pristine manner. If you've never researched the Babylon from Nebuchadnezzar's day, it was an absolutely incredible sight to see. Incredible. It would have been. Hanging gardens, it was like one of the wonders of the world. And when Alexander the Great conquered Babylon, they had never been into a city such as this. This was something they were completely unaware of, because you realize it was the Persians, Alexander the Great. Medo-Persian Empire. Well, Jennifer, I've thought about that as well, Rome being Babylon. But from my understanding, it's supposed to be the youngest nation, according to Scripture. And one that controls the market trading, really the commerce for the entire world. And when you really get into the details on things, even though Rome seems to be the one that has the blood of the saints on their hands, if you really peel back the historic layers, as far as the youngest nation, this nation's got a lot of blood on its hands. But the Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar was absolutely incredible. And it was Babylon's pride that was her downfall. Guys, they had walls so thick that chariots could patrol the top of the walls. They were so wide that little chariots were patrolling the top. And when I get into it tomorrow on how this happened, it was actually brilliant. Brilliant on how Persia did this. And when you hear the story, you're going to be like, wow, that sounds like that could happen to America. And I believe it's giving us the template for what will. I want to get into it tonight. My head's not clear. But it's so interesting, because the parallels of the enemy sneaking in. Remember, well, you maybe not remember, but this is how Babylon fell. The enemy snuck in under the gate. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? One of the most heavily armed and fortified nations, Babylon. And during their pompous celebrations and prideful acts of boasting, the enemy just snuck in under the gate. Yes, it was Nebuchadnezzar in the Hanging Gardens in Babylon. It was. It was one of the 7 wonders of the world. Yeah, you know, Troy, they used the Trojan horse. And I believe it was it the same nation that snuck in too? Was it? Who was it? Troy was it Persia also that used the Trojan horse? I do know that they had Achilles. I think it was the Greeks, Greek Persia. Normally I have these answers, but tonight I'm. Wish You Were Here. I think I used to play that song. It's been so long. That's a good jam. You know, I saw Pink Floyd the last time they toured the nation. Do you guys remember how long ago that was? I have the ticket stub sitting right over there. Can anyone guess when it was the last time they toured the nation? Stephanie Gomes, we're so glad you made it. I used to play that song because it was one of my favorites, but I remember exactly what I was doing. I still have the ticket stub. It was 1994, RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C. I was 17, 18 years old, and we had literally camped out in the parking lot of the RFK Stadium for 3 days straight, and it was just a party for 3 days straight. As far as the eye could see was pop-up buses, tents, probably 1 million people in the parking lot camped out. This was big back then. This is when the Grateful Dead had a massive following, and the other band Fish had a massive following. And Pink Floyd was touring the United States for the final time. No one knew it would be their final time, but it was. Now, they toured other nations, but this was the last time they toured the United States. I have the ticket stub. 1994, I'll grab it. Let me tell you what, that I can remember the Wish You Were Here was their opening song. What a powerful concert. It was completely designed for those inebriated from hallucinogenics because it was something else. And if you ever look up the old music like videos, playback from the RFK Stadium from that time period, they had massive pigs that came out of little houses over top of the stage. And these pigs were the size of school buses. And they would go out over the crowd and they have lasers out of their eyes and they'd be cross. It was one of those things that you were, rocking back and forth like a baby. Sitting in the chair going, oh boy. Yep. Yeah, I don't listen to Floyd anymore, unfortunately, because For me, if I start listening to music, I start listening to music and listening to music because I love music. So I just stick with the Word of God. But Pink Floyd was just for me, it was a very, very chill, relaxing style of music. I've never really looked at the lyrics to see what it's really talking about. Maybe I will at some point one day just to see if it's suitable to listen to, because, you know, it's important what you're allowing your mind to be programmed with, but the music was very, very relaxing. I forget how it goes. Oh, I used to love playing that song. I can't remember how it goes now. Not seeing Christopher here, but Rumble worked? Huh? It's not, Lee says. Let's see, manage. I need to add some moderators in Rumble. How do I do that? All right, I'll figure that out later. Oh yeah, Susan, the days of partying. You know, in hindsight, you know, when I reflect back on it, it was part of the process of growing up, and though it's not something that interests me whatsoever now, I believe it defined part of who I am today. I have some experiences and some stories that would be very difficult to believe. You know, my mom, many of you remember that my mom's in the medical field. And I'll give you a quick little story. I was young, and we decided that eating a whole bag of mushrooms was a good idea. And I say that as sarcastic as I can. Anyways, fast forward a few hours. We were in an interesting state, to say the least. We got in such a state that we thought we were dying. So we went to the ER. And who would you guess was standing in the ER doing check-ins behind the desk when we showed up? My mother. She was mortified. I'll never forget that look on her face. Yeah, so she whisked me away to a side room, and surprisingly enough, she remained cool, calm, and did not go sideways on me. But I would have bet at the time she would have. She knew exactly what was happening, gave me some lorazepam, and sent me out the door. She was mortified. And she was right. Within 30 minutes of that, I was on the couch laughing. But what an embarrassing time for my poor mother. That's just one of many embarrassing stories of poor choices. My poor parents. My poor parents. Oh, so many funny stories. Well, they're funny now, but I'll tell more another time. Now, my father, he would not be that calm and collective. Now, he would never get mean or abusive, but he was, he was lieutenant colonel in the military, so he was firm. He wouldn't lose his cool, but if looks could kill, we'll leave it at that. But I tell you, after all the years, I'm close with my parents now, and I'm just blessed that they are my parents, because I know so many that were not blessed with two wonderful parents, and it really can play a number on who you are growing up and getting older. So some people just are not given a fair shake out of the gate because of that. And it's tough, It's not the person's fault that they were dealt those cards. But children need that love and affection at the younger age, that coddling, that feeling of everything's going to be okay. Because it does. It affects people as they age. You'll find a common denominator from all the serial killers that they interview. There was a common denominator that many of them had childhood trauma. It's tough sometimes. I tried to be very patient with my ex for years at the end there, because I knew the number her upbringing did to her. And this is not me about rolling her business out under the bus, because I've said it before. But all that said and done with, we are close friends now. But especially the little girls, if they have a father that is abusive or absent, it really takes a toll. And it breaks my heart. It does. It breaks my heart. I think that's why I'm so sensitive to little Ivy. Because I've seen the end result from someone that has been brought up from that trauma. And you try to overlook it because you know it's not her fault, you know? You really try to. I think you're right, Lee. Many need deliverance from childhood trauma. And they may not even realize it. But a lot of the time, the aggression and paranoia and maybe even, self-conscious behavior that spills out towards their significant other later in life is a byproduct of this, and they don't even realize it. But I'm very fortunate that my ex and I are good friends and that her new man is a great dude. And it makes me happy to see them happy together. Because the thing that bothered me the most when it was all going down was on how it was going to affect the children. So, that was my stress point. Having that settled, it was golden. Because really, that was the stress point. We had long gotten past the fact that we were not a good fit. But the additional duration was to, try to make it work for the kids, But there becomes a point where it's just not doable. But in hindsight now, we probably should have done it much earlier because we're much better friends than we were mates. So it worked out great. The most important thing is that when it comes with anybody's relationships, give or take now, past, future, is that you get past the resentment. One way or another, learn to bury that and get past it and give forgiveness because it is liberating. It really is. And I'm sure many can understand this perspective, is that when you're dealing with someone in your life on a regular basis and the unforgiveness is still very prevalent, every time you even think about that situation or dealing with it later that day, it makes your blood pressure go up. It stresses you out. And if it's someone that you have to deal with on a regular basis because of their involvement in your life, it's catastrophic to your health. Cortisol, everything, it just gets hammered. And that relationship is really in that state because of one or both operating in a state of resentment and unforgiveness. And when both can really work through that and allow the Lord to remove that animosity, it does healing wonders. You learn as you go, you know. And I share these things because I feel like people can learn from my mistakes. "11 Kitties." What a cute name. 11 kitties. Meow. You have 11 kitties? I'm going to warm up my coffee and try to push through this. I'll be right back. Be right back.
Kamchatka in Russia is trembling again, guys. That magnitude 8.8 megathrust earthquake is still producing aftershock, question mark, or what is this? Another 7.8 today after we just had a 7.7 or 7.4. The agencies vary here. And right now, today from Russia, the damage reports are already coming in from Petropavlovsk, Kamchatsky, after this strong 7.8 earthquake. And it hit this city today. And multiple reports are coming in that people felt very heavy shaking, but they're also reported damage to concrete buildings that are coming in. And guys, don't forget, when we had the megathrust earthquake, the 8.8, reports and satellite pictures confirmed that there was damage to the nuclear submarine base of Russia that is there. So the Pacific Ring of Fire, this is where this is located, is on fire with this region especially. So a tsunami advisory has been issued for Alaska. So right after this happened, just a few minutes ago, the city of St. Paul in Alaska has issued a tsunami warning, and they said if you are located in this coastal area, move off the beach and out of harbors and marinas. And they said tsunami advisories mean that a tsunami capable of producing strong currents or waves could be very, very dangerous to people and structures near the water. That advisory was valid until 3 minutes ago. So it seems nothing has happened there so far. But why are there so many earthquakes, especially in this area, guys? So Kamchatka, the Pacific plate is moving approximately 75 millimeters per year relative to the DETOX plate. So how it is moving 75 millimeters, that is 3.17.43331 inches. And that number is very, very important. I get to that later. This is crucial. So this is a relatively high speed by tectonic standards, and it causes large earthquakes to happen more frequently here than in some other subduction zones, like the Cascadia subduction fold, for example, where I am sitting right now. Kind of grateful that this one doesn't rumble so often, but it's locked and loaded. So if it rumbles, it can produce a magnitude 9 or higher. The Pacific Ring of Fire has its name from something. It's so called because of the high number of earthquakes and volcanoes that occur there. The upper layers of the earth are split into sections. They're tectonic plates. They're all moving relative to another, and many of them are subducting and crashing into each other. Of course, we also had tsunami warnings for the direct Kamchatka coast, and it's too early to determine whether there's a potential tsunami threat for Hawaii. That's the latest news. if there is a tsunami threat to Hawaii, the earliest estimated time the hazard might begin is 2:55 p.m. Thursday, September 18th. So hazardous tsunami waves are possible from this major 7.8 earthquake, and it was very close to the coast of Kamchatka. USGS is reporting it at a depth of 10 kilometers, 6.2 miles, but this is always the initial report of earthquakes, and then it gets adjusted. The EMSC is reporting it at a depth of 40 kilometers, that's 25 miles. That makes more sense in my opinion right now. Epicenter 145 kilometers, that's 90 miles east of Petropavlovsk, Kamchatka, with a population of 181,216 people. And it seems one baby was just born when the earthquake happened. So maybe we add another person to this. Beautiful story. So based on preliminary earthquake parameters, these hazardous waves are possible for coastlines that are located within 1,000 kilometers, that's 620 miles, of the earthquake epicenter. This seems to be another strong aftershock of the tsunami-producing magnitude 8.8 megathrust earthquake on July 29th this year. It has created a Pacific-wide tsunami and has ranked, guys, this is really, really interesting, as the 6th strongest earthquake ever recorded instrumentally that we were able to record. The event has ruptured a long part of the Kuril-Kamchatka subduction zone. That's the monster that we're dealing with here that is causing all that trouble. And here comes the interesting part that I want to tell you about, with a ground displacement recorded across southern Kamchatka. So what happened? The satellite and the geodetic data have indicated that Kamchatka as a whole, this peninsula, has shifted horizontally by up to 2 meters, 6.631458 feet during that rupture. And the deformation was very widespread, with coastal subsidence and uplift that has altered local topography. It has changed the topography. And we know that such large-scale displacement are consistent with megathrust events of that magnitude. And now look, NASA was able after a while now to map this Kamchatka earthquake displacement. That is a very, very interesting picture that we see here. So you can see the earthquake epicenter with the magnitude 8.8, July 29th. And that is basically this area where we have all these aftershocks, so many aftershocks, in the 7s, in the high 7s, 6, 5s, a lot. And then you see that it's getting more and more red. So the satellites have measured an eastward and slightly downward shift in the ground. And you can also see the bar on the bottom of this graphic that goes from blue to red. You can see the displacement there in meters. The darker it gets, it's more than 1 meter. And they also, with the light dotted line, they show us the Kuril-Kamchatka trench. And if you compare that to this map, you can see the topography of this Kuril-Kamchatka trench, how massive this is. And if you zoom out a little bit, you can see the Pacific Ring of Fire. And they also show us the Krashenikov volcano that all of a sudden has erupted after such long time. You also see the DETOX plate, and you see the Pacific plate, right? And then you see the Kuril-Kamchatka trench. This is where they have their war zone. This is where they're fighting. I mean, for many people, the surface of the earth seems stable and unchanging, but that is not the case. It's anything but static. So our planet is made up of these tectonic plates that make the rigid outer layer. And they're basically, if you imagine like a puzzle, they're pieces of a puzzle that squeeze and grind against each other, often slowly but violent. And the speed here that I mentioned, the 75 millimeters, that is quite a high speed compared to other movements of other plates. This map is really revolutionary because it gives us a picture of the powerful ground displacement that happened on this offshore earthquake on July 29th. The red areas were pushed primarily eastward by the magnitude 8.8 earthquake, and the dashed lines, key faults and plate boundaries, and then the small white patches in the southern part of the peninsula are areas where they could not measure displacement. So they're using this INSAR technology, which is really, really great. And they have looked at previous earthquakes and they knew the location and the basic geometry of the large fault, a mega.
Well, it seems like what she is saying is something is coming. And we can all sense that. Did everyone pick up on what I was saying this afternoon about the reason why I presented the Booga Spear? I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but the reason I brought it back around is, and we mentioned the Booga Spear last year. Now they are picking up a pulse, a pattern, a pattern that matches binary. Here's where it gets interesting. 3i Atlas is now emitting a pulse, a binary pulse. And would you be willing to bet that these pulses match each other? Now it's getting wild. Think about what I just said, guys. What could that mean? Regardless of what it could mean, we know what is truly going on, but it is fascinating to watch the great deception unfold as long as everyone stays in check and in tune with the fact of what is really going on and doesn't, drift too far off and wondering who and what these things are. We talked about it last year. If you go back and look at the Booga Spear video that we did then, that about this time we would be connecting dots. And lo and behold, here we are. Another very interesting point is they have identified 11 comets now moving into our solar system. Yeah, if you go back through the videos and just go to when we covered the Booga Spear, whenever that was, it was in the last 7-8 months. I'm just guessing. If you just searched the feed in the YouTube channel, it'll bring it up. But we covered a good bit of the original data there and how the markings actually match some pre-flood markings as well. But the whole concept of the pulse that's being generated and it being a pattern matching binary, and then matching a pattern that 3i Atlas is generating as well, I just say it's getting exciting, if that would be the best term, because we know that things are accelerating. And the reason it's exciting is because we know our king is coming. If you guys never saw that TV series, Childhood's End, if that wasn't predictive programming, I don't know what is. Yeah. You know, the seismic activity uptick is going to get very interesting as things progress. You know, one of the main reasons why I believe that the seismic uptick is so heavy is because of the fault, the Atlantic floor delaminating and falling into the mantle. It's releasing pressure across the rest of the faults, but as these objects, whatever they are moving closer in the solar system to us, it's going to have a gravity effect as well. Yeah, I'm pretty tired. I'm going to go. I was going to try to push through it, but I am toast. Yeah, I struggled to read my notes. I was going to look and start doing the teaching, but it's all kind of fuzzy. It's been one of those days where I've just felt zapped. You know, it is what it is. We usually, when I feel like this, there's a whole group of you that are feeling the same way. All right, guys, we'll try this again tomorrow. I'll do this teaching at the 1 o'clock show because this is actually really, really neat. Because there is a uncanny parallel between Babylon to now. And we know how history repeats itself. So really the Bible gives us the keys and understanding to see how the enemy is going to take down the nation. Gang, load the sea. Absolutely. And Miguel, sometimes the riff sounds like lightning crashing. I guess it does, because all I do is noodle around between G, C, and D. All right, guys, I love you all. Look, thank you for everyone that comes and has fellowship each and every day. Thank you, everyone that prays for the community and really shows up every day to have fellowship. Thank you to everyone that donates to the ministry. It's because of you guys that I'm able to do this twice a day. Love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.